Someday in the distant future, um, my videos will be successful. I know it. And people in an even more distant future will understand that I am what Hegel calls the negative. Um, as of now, I have not yet succeeded in convincing anyone but myself, but I am the most important self in my worldview, not my empirical me, but my transcendental self, that I was the condition of the possibility of all reality, which is what Hegel calls reason, the singular consciousness which knows itself to be the whole of reality. And what I see in the world is my mirror, not consciously created by this singular individual, but by the transcendental principle, which is identical in every thinking creature, the Brahman, or the world soul, the world spirit, whatever. So when I look at the news on the morning, I see a part of myself, a reflection of myself. And today they talk about Mariupol, a martyr city, humanitarian urgency. With Putin, a dialogue is impossible. And I have made videos in which I claimed and tried to prove that Vladimir Putin is not free. He's determined by the entire process of logical development and the whole process of world history to act the way he acts. And that the growing hatred against Putin creates a growing love within those who are opposed to Putin, a sense of solidarity and reciprocal need and reciprocal cohesion. And this is part of God's plan. And at some point, when my video becomes successful, people will turn at me and recognize that we are in a dialectical interaction of consciousness with one another, and they will wonder why there's so much violence and horrors in the world, and they will get angry. And the only answer that I can bring is that we are a dialectical process. Everything which exists is the process of dialectics, and dialectics is inner negativity going out of itself and then bringing the opposition back into itself, and it's the whole movement of the life of the absolute. And I made, not me as an empirical individual, but my transcendental self, the dialectical principle of all things, created songs in modern pop culture where absolute spirit is made manifest to itself, and everyone loves good music. And the music that I now understand and that could help express what is happening and what will happen is Bad Romance by Lady Gaga. And the song says, I want your ugly, I want your disease. And the disease is the dialectical action and reaction within God. It's God's disease. God suffers from dialectics, and dialectics is the cause and the solution to all of life's problems, like alcohol for Homer Simpson. Dialectic is the root of all evil, the cause of all good, the cause of all separation, the cause of all reunion. It's the entire process of being, becoming, essence, concept, nature, spirit. It's the whole life of the absolute. And so Lady Gaga says, I want your everything as long as it's free. I want your love. The Kabbalah says that God wanted to see God in all its aspects, and that the hardest task of the self is to love God in all its aspects, to love God fully with all all there is in God, and that's the most difficult thing to do. But um, I want your love and I want your revenge, and it's already written in the phenomenology that mankind, which is a projection of God's eternal ID, will want to take a revenge against the negative, and I, because I am selfish, I must accept and understand to accept this revenge as being deserved, and I must understand to recognize God's will in the revenge, and to love it in a way. That's the most difficult task, but that's part of the dialectical process. I want your horror, I want your design, because you're a criminal as long as you're mine. I want your love. So that's how Lady Gaga unconsciously expresses God's relation to itself, because God is only in relation to himself, and that's the most difficult thing to accept, but that's part of God's process of self-consciousness and self-love in a way. And there's another song, Love the Way You Lie, um, by Rihanna and Eminem, and the first lyrics is what I could say to Hegel. On the first page of our story, the future seemed so bright. When I first discovered Hegel, he was the most amazing, the greatest man ever, the most intelligent. He was funny, because I understood the very deep aspects of Hegel, and Hegel, when properly understood, there are comical moments in Hegel. He was brilliant. He was a systematized thinker. He was smart. He was deep. He was the perfect man, and more than a man, he was the perfect ID. And then Rihanna says, and then this thing turned out so evil. I don't know why I'm still surprised. Even angels have their wicked schemes, and you take that to new extremes. This thing that turned out so evil is the negative within Hegel's system, because when I discovered Hegel, I knew that he talked about the negative, but then I realized I was the negative for Hegel, and when I realized this, my view of Hegel changed dramatically, and yeah. But you'll always be my hero, even though you've lost your mind. The negative is a part of God's mind losing itself within itself. That's a dialectical moment. The der Verstand, the understanding, the dualistic aspect, which is lost within the totality, and that's why God is insane in a way, because of this dialectical a movement of losing one's mind. And when we encounter God, we are taken out of ourselves. We lose ourselves in an ecstatic unity. But by losing our mind in a union with God, we are actually recovering our one true mind, which is a mind beyond dualism, a holistic, speculative, mystical union. And right now, I am trapped within God's mind, which is the mind of my higher self, and mankind is trapped within the mind of God. And God, a part of God, is a psychopath. So we are all trapped within the mind of a sociopath and of a psychopath. And the only way out is by reconstructing the knowledge and rebuilding conceptual order and bringing back balance and understanding and clarity within this chaos. And that's why the best that I can do is to bring rational explanation of world history, of pop culture, of religion, of philosophy, to bring clarity and order, to save myself and to save the others, which are reflections of myself, by bringing them light and by enlightening the inherent darkness of the world. And that's a very difficult task, but God provided me with music to try to heal my wounded soul, and I thank him for that. So yeah.